What's going on, Titans? We're back with another episode of Daily Titan Podcast, or DT Pod for short. It's your host, lifestyle assistant Kabeer Kansara, and I'm joined with
Jayden Lovelady, your guys' lifestyle editor.
And today we're going to be taking a look at issue number 9 of volume 116 of the Daily Titan newspaper. In today's episode, we're going to be going over a couple stories, including the walk on Wilshire, the Doctors in Gaza event that was hosted here, the friendship games, pedestrian spaces, and women's soccer. Walking on over to our top story this week, we're going to be heading over to the walk on Wilshire, which was covered by Isaiah Mallari, and I heard he might be here actually.
Wait, I think I might be seeing him right now.
Wait, really? I thought I heard him step in the room, yeah.
I think you guys are seeing ghosts.
Wait, I think so. In the spirit of Halloween.
Yeah, in the spirit of Halloween.
Something is haunting the newsroom.
So you've become a bit of a walk on Wilshire beat reporter lately.
Yeah, so this was a monumental moment in the walk on Wilshire saga because recently, last Tuesday, Fullerton City Council voted 3-1 to essentially extend the Parkland program for another 3 months. The kicker, though, is that on top of the extension of the 3 months, it'll reopen on January 31st, 2025. But starting October 16th, Public Works and the rest of Fullerton City staff is going to start working to plan out a permanent solution to keep it. So they're going to look into the details, obviously the finances. I believe in City Council in the meeting, they discussed looking at the business finances and see if the Wilshire program will actually benefit or not benefit the businesses that are located on Wilshire Avenue.
As someone that hits Wilshire often for this story, like, how do you feel it's impacted? Do you feel like it's a benefit?
Yeah, the Parkland program, well, in terms of pedestrian activity, yes. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, according to a survey that the city conducted in July, 70% of the people who responded to that survey said that they support it. It's a huge popular thing, and a lot of people, a lot of residents in particular, love this project, even though it's 200 feet of road. It's faced this much, I guess, mixed reviews because, again, some of the businesses nearby Wilshire or even on the street have mentioned how their businesses have been negatively impacted because of, one, visibility, or it's because of advertising or lack of parking spaces that a lot of people are, because, it's a car-centric city. But at the same time, it's a popular aspect that a lot of people gravitate towards. I've forgot to mention this in the Chalk on Wilshire story a couple weeks ago, but I got the chance to meet some of the people who attended that event, and some people were not even from Fullerton. Someone came from Mission Viejo because it was a Pokemon Go event. And they were obviously a Pokemon Go fanatic, so they just went. But because it's a 200 feet of road, you would think it's a small thing, but it impacts people's lives in ways where, you could host events, people can go to just meet and mingle.
No, genuinely. And also, like, with it being just 200 feet, they host events there pretty often that are pretty big as well. So imagine what they could do with, like, even more space let out for that Parkland program as well.
So City Council recently, and this is why it's huge, because Councilman Fred Jung of District 1, he was kind of a big player in not extending the Walk on Wilshire program. For reasons being that he believes that the street it's 200 feet. He essentially wants it to be more than just 200 feet.
I liked his quote when he said, like, why should we as Fullerton be okay with mediocrity? If we're going to do this, let's do it all the way. I fully agree with that because, like, 200 feet could really just be the start. There's so many people that come there just for, like, that sip and savor, just sit on that bench right outside. It's like, if they had more of that through downtown, like, it encouraged more people to walk around, go around, see the businesses out there too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he's had that stance similarly in a similar case with the Union Pacific Trail, where he wanted to see the trail grow into something bigger than it was, but he he said no to that extension or to that growth of that trail. So he was a little bit on the, he was like, I would consider moderate on this issue, but for reasons being that he just wants to see grow. But the rest of City Council, including Shana Charles and Ahmed Zara, there were two huge supporters. I would say that they were the two biggest players. I want to mention when Demi and I went to the city council meeting last Tuesday, it was very tense. The amount of people who wanted to speak on, again, this small section of road was intense. You could really feel in the air. Demi and I really felt the anticipation for a vote to happen. And again, it's a testament to how extremely popular this idea essentially is for not just Fullerton residents, but for people in Orange County.
So you said that there were a lot of dissenting voters. What were the reasons they wanted like to not expand the walk-on Wilshire, to end the Parker program?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, some people or some local business owners believe that their business was negatively affected because of, for one, it's blocking off a road essentially. Oh, sure. I mean, you're closing off a road. So, I think one of the biggest arguments was parking spaces, and also visibility. Some people driving by probably couldn't see their business, right, if they drive on Wilshire Avenue. But I would like to mention that some of those local businesses are not even located on Wilshire Avenue, at least with the ones who I talked to and spoke to. But that's just an interesting note. Another one that I noticed during that city council meeting was a lot of the position was that it essentially doesn't, one of the biggest positions where it doesn't matter, right? Again, that's a Fred Jung position where it's like, it's only 200 feet. Why not just reopen it? Something that city council was kind of thinking about doing was obviously doing renovations for it. Mm-hmm. But their main thought now, after their 3-1 vote to extend it, but essentially they want to see what they can do with the whole street closed. And in their case, they're trying to see if that can be resolved. Essentially, if they do more with more space, they essentially could do more with it. Yeah. That's essentially their idea with it. But we've yet to see in January. And a huge thing is, like you mentioned, the November elections are coming up. Yeah. The 3-1 vote is interesting because 3 seats are up for election. So it's going to be Mayor Dunlap, it's going to be Bruce Whitaker, and it's going to be Fred Jung. Those 3 guys' seats are going to be up for election. Mayor Dunlap, he recused himself for this vote because of conflict of interest.
Can you add on to that? What was the conflict of interest, if you know?
Yeah, so I believe one of his family members owns one of the businesses on that street. Bruce Whitaker, he was the main dissenting vote on this. He was practically saying no to every motion that happened on Tuesday's meeting.
What was his reasoning, if you know?
He didn't really speak at all during that meeting. But in previous meetings, I've noticed that he's kind of in a similar boat as Fred Jung, where he's believing that there's really nothing happening in this 200 feet project. So it's a question of why are we doing this?
2 out of the 3 voters are against it staying open? And then one of them excused themselves?
Yes. So essentially, it happened a lot during last week's meeting.
Essentially, who is voting positively on this?
It's, again, it's a 2-2. Nice. So that's why it's a huge deal because, again, it's essentially almost a popular program, but it's a 2-2 kind of vote. Ahmed Zara and Shayna Charles have publicly spoken in advocacy for the walk on Wilshire. But again, like I said, Fred Jung and Bruce Whitaker were the ones who are usually on the fence about this kind of thing. So they've historically voted no on a lot of these motions to extend walk on Wilshire in the past couple meetings, I would say. But after the November elections, we have no idea who's going to be voting for what. There are a couple candidates who have spoken publicly in favor of the Walk on Wilshire program. One who's running up against Fred Jung, actually. So his seat could be a yes vote. Whoever's in city council, it needs a 3-2 vote, essentially. It needs a majority. So that's what makes this, I wouldn't say groundbreaking, but it's a huge talking point for a lot of local residents.
Sure. Sounds like it's very important to turn in those ballots to make sure y'all register to vote.
Yeah. And because they essentially, the city staff essentially have to turn in a plan by January 31st in order to see what the permanent plan will look like. If there is no permanent plan, Walk on Wilshire will essentially close and Wilshire Avenue will essentially reopen on January 31st. So again, because we have no idea who the city council is going to be after November 5, no idea how this vote is going to look. It's really a couple things. It's one, up to the city staff to see how the logistics will look for a permanent plan and see if they have something by at least mid-January. And then 2, have no idea if it's going to be a 3-2 vote for Walk on Wilshire or a 3-2 vote against Walk on Wilshire.
So I was doing my final check on the paper. Okay. Noticed a little skybox.
Yeah, Mr. DME.
You want to talk about that?
How'd that happen?
Yeah,
Mr. Digital Managing.
So we as a team, we made a mistake on the skybox. We did not change the skybox original text from last week's opinion story, so it kind of looks like it's a different title essentially to a whole different story.
The skybox are, for those who don't know, the little boxes on the top page that say like, oh, look inside on page 5 for lifestyle. The one on the left says to look into an opinion story from last week, and then tells you to look on page 5 for the lifestyle story. And I fear what's on page 5 is a top 5 fall movie recommendation and not an opinion on
the right to assemble.
And we will hold on to that mistake, and we'll learn from that.
We'll frame it to make sure we don't forget about it. We'll be keeping that in mind.
To all the listeners out there, yeah, we apologize. I think we're going to have a correction out by the time.
Oh, for sure. Little social media post. Hey,
yeah, nice. My bad. I think it's an Instagram.
Hey guys, sorry, my bad.
So, yeah. But yeah.
Cool.
That was a big mistake, but that's okay.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, that was a really big mistake.
You should go to the corner and think about that now.
Yeah, you need to go in timeout. Think about what you've done.
I'll go back to Wilshire.
Think about what we didn't do.
Think about what we didn't do. Yeah, as a team.
Yeah, as a team.
Yeah, I'm taking notes, guys.
What the heck, team leader?
Oops, sorry, guys.
Okay, go.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to start the timer.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey Titans, this is Brian Jimenez, news editor at the Daily Titan. Keep an eye out for our upcoming Voters Guide tablet next week and for our podcast special election episode hosted by me and Ruben Montoya, our managing editor. Make sure to follow us on our socials at the Daily Titan across all platforms.
All right, guys, transitioning over to our news desk, we're going to be talking about an event held on campus who hosted 2 doctors that operated in Gaza to speak on their experience. And here with us, we have Miss Emily Wilson, the editor-in-chief.
Yeah, former news editor, too.
So, Emily, who organized this event?
Yeah, so it was a collaboration between Students for Justice in Palestine, Jewish Voice for Peace of Orange County, and Young Democratic Socialists of America. And these organizations, especially the first one and the last one, are kind of known for hosting pro-Palestine events throughout the past year or so. And the 2 doctors that came to speak have been going on like a media tour kind of around the United States to come to speak to different college campuses and just like hold different events to talk about their experiences.
Yeah, of course. Stuff like that is so important, especially like to younger audiences like college campuses and like college kids. I feel like we don't see a lot of conversations about what's really happening over there. So I think it's really important that our school is a place where that can happen.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking on the article itself, this was genuinely one of the most, like, I would say gut-wrenching reads I've had here. When I was, like, doing a second read on this as well.
Yeah.
Just because of how impactful the quotes were. And, like, it's one thing to hear about it through the news and through the lens of, like, I guess the professionalism that comes with broadcast and hear about it from that point of view. Whereas to hear about it from, like, people that were on the ground that saw the everyday living of what's happening in Gaza, it makes such a difference knowing their exact experience.
Yeah, and I gotta shout out Brian Jimenez, who's our news editor who wrote the article. I think it really humanizes it for all of us, and it localizes it too, because like, as you said, like you can see it, like you can hear about it, you can see it on social media, but like until you actually hear what it's like there, like it'll hit you differently. And one of the doctors just talked about, the quote is in the article, but they said like, just please speak about things like this. Like, don't stop speaking about this, because like nothing is going to happen if people don't put pressure on like different organizations and different governments to do something about it, right?
Absolutely. And I feel like it's definitely a trend in American history where collectively people turn a blind eye and just pretend that it doesn't happen anymore.
But
and we cannot repeat this cycle throughout history.
Yeah,
like,
and it's been happening for years to like the Palestinian people. Yeah,
yes.
A really long time.
And with every issue over and over again, you see the fact that like the government won't care until the people do. So the people really need to show that they care to make sure that the government does too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the best ways we can do it collectively as a campus is, of course, to keep having these conversations and keep holding events like this.
Definitely.
Yeah, and there is an event. Students for Justice in Palestine is hosting a poetry event in the TSU this week. So both groups too have been really active with events like this, just to kind of keep it something that people are thinking about, right?
Absolutely.
Heading on over to our lifestyle desk, we're going to be talking about the 39th annual Friendship Games that were held this year at CSUF's campus.
Fun fact, guys, this is our editor-in-chief's first lifestyle byline.
So basically, this article covered the Friendship Games, which is an annual event held here at CSUF, where different Filipino student organizations from colleges all over the state get to come and compete in different games, show out in different dances, get to show their spirit, their team pride, stuff like that. It's a really cool event.
Yeah. I heard that 32 organizations participated and around 3,000 attendees were expected, which
3,000?
is crazy.
That's like spring concert numbers.
Do you have any idea who put this event on?
I believe it was held by PASA, which is the Philippine X American Student Association that is here on campus.
I also heard that SDSU won all 5 of the games and then the competition overall on our own field. It couldn't be us on our own field.
It's tight territory, man.
Guys, come on. What happened to Tusk's being up?
You know what? We'll step it up for the 40th annual Friendship Games.
Hey, I think the fact that we hosted and started this is a win in itself.
Oh, yeah. No, it
Shout
started
out us.
back in, I believe, 86. And the event started with just the CSUF PASA.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, the event has grown and other teams asked to like be invited, get involved and stuff like that. So, I mean, it really just shows like the level of community they have on campus because it like, dog, they do it so nice that other people want to come get active with us. Like,
very beautiful thing, to be honest.
Definitely. Coinciding with the walk-on Wilshire story that came out of our news desk this week, we have an opinion piece on the importance of pedestrian spaces written by our opinion editor, Luis Vizcaino. I think the story was really important because it emphasizes just how much third spaces and pedestrian spaces especially are relied on around the community because it gives people a place to be without having to worry about where to park their car, what they can do, and things like that. Like, they don't have to worry about too much when they just go out because it's just them going out.
I thought it was really cool that one of his interviews, a professor of public health from our school, said that like she kind of spoke on this stigma going on about like people using active transportation like bikes, scooters, skateboards. They're seen as like less fortunate or like poor just because they don't have a car, because like having a car is so heavily associated with being more financially successful. It just reinforces the fact that no one wants to use active transportation or like use these pedestrian spaces.
It genuinely like it creates this kind of like view that it's looked down upon to get on a bike or get on a skateboard, which is so untrue because it's like that's some of the best ways to get around. You get fresh air, you get active, you get exercise and things like that.
Absolutely, especially in places like downtown Fullerton. Like, genuinely. I don't want to be in a car over there. The vibes are too good.
And when you consider the fact that it's located near like student populaces and like big student hubs like Fullerton College or CSUF and things like that.
Absolutely.
It makes a lot of sense that people would want to be on their bikes or want to be on their skateboards because that's what students here have on hand.
Yeah. Also, like, a lot of students here don't bring cars when they move here because it's just, we live in a city where that's like the most accessible option. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I feel like, yeah, the relevancy of like the pedestrian spaces is, I would argue, especially important for Fullerton, just because we have that type of environment in the city that we live in. It's important overall, but genuinely very localized to us.
I think another big point made in the article was just about making a safe space for people to be around, because like when you're out in your car and you just see like an empty sidewalk, it doesn't feel the most safe. But when you're out in a pedestrian space where there's other people around and there's like liveliness going on and there's things happening, you feel a lot more safer even though you're outside of your car, outside of your vehicle, just because you know there's other around and there's a community there for you.
Absolutely. And I feel like, I don't know about you, I interact with people a lot on the street, especially in downtown Fullerton. I feel like everyone is always just like, oh, cute purse, or like, oh, where are you guys going today? Like waiting for the light and stuff. Like I feel like for me personally, at least, like it might just be because, hey, I talk to everyone all the time. But like, I don't know, I've met cool people just traveling by foot or like going on my skateboard.
I've had some of my best interactions just passing people on the street and just saying what's up, telling them I like their outfit, or then telling me they like mine.
Like it's very just friendly.
If you want to build a community, you have to be around others that are part of that community. And you don't get that by just being in a 4-door box.
All right, guys, now we're going to be kicking it with our sports desk and our makeshift sports correspondent and also the sports editor at the Daily Titan, Mr. Sergio Gonzalez. Hey, Sergio.
Hello. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm chilling.
Nice.
I'm doing all right. So, Sergio, what happened this weekend?
Women's soccer beat Long Beach.
Let's go!
Let's go.
Hashtag beat the beach.
Beat the beach.
So, what was the game like?
They beat them 2-0 on Sunday.
Okay.
At Long Beach at the rival's house.
Yeah, knocking on their door, kicking it down too.
That's a statement win right there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, they needed that bad.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
How are they looking in terms of conference play right now? What's the record sitting at?
So right now they only have 3 conference games left. They're fighting for that playoff spot. They really want that. So they're stepping it up now though. So that's good.
What would the seed be if they got that spot? You know, like any expected rankings?
They need top 7. Right now they're sitting at 6.
Oh,
so after the win, they went from 7 to 6. So
they're there, but like
close.
They're there.
We could use a little more support, a little more security in that spot.
Exactly. Yeah. They got a few more games. They look good on Sunday, so hopefully they can continue that.
Do you have any opinions on like how the team could do a little better?
So their biggest struggle has been their defense. And that was huge on Sunday. Like they shut them out. I believe they've only done that like 2 or 3 times this season. So if they can just continue that, like stepping up defensively, I think they should be in a good spot.
What do you think led to this win over their last 2 games?
They were shut out in their last 2 games.
Yeah.
So I think just a matter of like converting their like offensive opportunities. Their coach talked about that a lot and just like putting up shot after shot after shot. And they finally did that and it worked.
Do you have any expectations of them coming into playoffs or anything like that?
Last year they were bounced after winning. They had the number 1 seed and they lost.
Wow.
So like now they might be in a little more of like an underdog state. So maybe that's a little more like energy, momentum.
Oh, definitely. Love a good underdog story.
Yeah.
Just
always.
like Rocky.
Exactly.
This is exactly like Rocky, actually, when you think about it.
You got anything else? Any other things you want to mention about women's soccer?
Tusk up.
Yes, sir. Tusk up.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, it looks like that's about it from us today. When you're out and about on campus this week, make sure you pick up a copy of the Daily Titan. You know, we put a lot of love, a lot of work into that. And tune in next Wednesday, of course, for another DT pod. And as always, if you like us, we love you.
It's time for us to get thankful for a moment, because you know that's how we do around here. So first of all, giving a big thank you to our executive producers, Isaiah Mallari and Emily Wilson. Giving another thank you to our producer, Luis Vizcaino. Our assistant producers, Raniel Santos and Michelle King. Thank you both. And thank you to Bijan Shoushtarizadeh, who actually produced the music you're hearing on this episode. Lastly, quick shout out and thank you to me, Kabeer Kansara, your assistant lifestyle editor, and my co-host, Jayden Lovelady, your lifestyle editor. And an even bigger thank you to all of y'all that tuned in this week. And make sure you grab a copy of that paper and check us out at dailytitan.com to keep up with what we do. Love y'all very much. Catch y'all next time.